Retirement forces difficult choices between enjoying life while you're healthy and preparing for an uncertain future. Estate planning helps to address longevity, healthcare needs, and the responsibility of protecting a surviving spouse. The goal is to live fully today without creating financial stress for tomorrow.
Welcome to Leibel on Fire with Amazon best-selling author and Yields for You portfolio manager, Leibel Sternbach. Leibel on Fire is supported by our ETFs, Yields for You Strategy A and Relative Strength Managed Volatility. Our mission is to help 1 million people retire with financial security. Now, the Financial Independence and Retirement Show dedicated to helping you build the life of your dreams as fast as possible with as little stress as possible. It's Leibel on Fire.
Talking about retirees enjoying their money, how do retirees balance enjoying their money now while still planning for an uncertain future? And there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now.
Yeah, it is a real challenge, and it is something that I talk about extensively in my book, Living with Financial Anxiety. And I outlined there, kind of a framework for how to think through making decisions. What I will say, right, it's one of those things, and it's something that I didn't expect this going in becoming a financial advisor, but it is certainly something that it seems like one of my roles as a financial advisor is people outsource that worry to me, right? And so that they can focus on the enjoying the now, knowing that I am doing the worrying for them for the future.
Lucky you.
So that is certainly one way that you can do it, is by hiring a financial advisor. But even what I will tell you is, even if you hire a financial advisor, you don't want to just trust blindly, right? You want to know that they have a plan. You want to know that they have a process. You want to know that what is that process for thinking through those decisions, right? Because everything is a trade-off in life. There is no, you don't get a free lunch, right? So if we're enjoying the now, right, what is it that we're sacrificing for our future, or what is the risks that we're taking on for our future in order to be able to enjoy the now? And you need to be okay with those, right? And a lot of the conversations that I have with clients and prospects, and this is a lot of what we do in that pre-retirement tax law analysis that we do for people, is we'll look at their finances now and we'll project it out into the future, and we'll highlight for them what are the things that we are most worried about for them, right? And it's different for every person, right? I have people who come to me and they're like, I'm worried about, I want to know how much I can spend without running out of money in the rest of my life. And I'll say, oh, okay, what's your health like? And they'll be like, well, I'm doing all right now, but my father, nobody in my family has lived past 75, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. So do you expect to live past 75, or is this something we're planning towards, right? He's like, yeah, I probably won't make it past 75. And your wife? Well, my wife, her family, they just celebrated their 110th birthday, right? Like, my mother-in-law still harasses me. And so you gotta ask these questions, right? So, for some people, it's, you plan on living, you think, okay, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, right? And you're like, oh, I'm never even going to make it 20 years. Well, okay, what about your spouse, right? And what if you're wrong, right? What if you're wrong and you do live 20 years, right? Because your health is better, because your genetics is better, because medicine is better, right? Like, and I'll give you a very concrete example. My dad, right? He had gout. His father had gout. Like, it's a family tradition having gout. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget my first gout attack, right? I got it. I was like, I knew exactly what it was because I had watched my father have it so many times. And I went to the doctor and he runs some blood work, right? And he's like, yeah, you're having a gout attack. And I was like, should we get on any of the medicines that my dad had to take? And he's like, no, your numbers don't indicate that. We'll see if it happens again. Well, my dad had really bad, kidney problems. He was on medicine daily to control it. Thank God, right? By the same age, right? I'm doing fine. I occasionally have to take something for a gout flare up. I got to be careful that I don't drink too much on the same week that I eat too much red meat. But other than that, right, I'm okay. And, my dad was completely bald. His father was completely bald by my age. And I gotta, I don't have a full head of hair, but I still have hair.
It's a good thing.
Right. So my point is right, like we can be so certain of things, right? But at the end of the day, we are unique individuals. And so we need to, while we may have an expectation that, okay, we may not live a very long time, or we may only have another 5-10 years, or whatever it is, what if we're wrong, right? What if we live longer than we expect to? And so we need to have a plan for that, right? Because the last thing you want to do is, I worked so hard my whole life. I sacrificed to get to this point, right? And you did sacrifice. Every single person I've met has sacrificed. And occasionally I get people who didn't sacrifice and they come to me with nothing. And they're like, I have to work till the day I die and I want to retire. I'm like, you're not going to retire because you didn't save anything, right? Like you didn't save anything and you didn't work hard enough to get enough from Social Security, and you didn't, your budget doesn't work for you to be able to stop working. But for most people, right, you sacrifice something to get to this point where you can retire and be like, I can now enjoy my time. And you want to enjoy that time, and you should enjoy that time, but you need to do it in a way that when you get to those last few years of your life, or you get to the point where you can't take care of yourself anymore, you need somebody, whether it is somebody to drive you to the grocery store, or someone to help you with grocery shopping, or take you to the doctors, right? You might not think of yourself as an invalid, right? It might just be, I can't drive myself anymore because, I just don't pay attention as much as I should when I'm driving, right? Mm-hmm. And that might come sooner rather than later, right? According to my wife, that's today. But you got to plan for that, right? Because you have this money. There's no reason why you should be pinching pennies in those last few years of your life when you need it the most, right? So it's a matter of balancing, doing a balancing act between enjoying now and making sure that you have that money for the future, so that if those worst case scenarios, or the things that we know are probably going to happen, that you have a plan for that, and that you're okay with whatever that plan is. And it is something that you got to constantly reevaluate, because, as life changes, as you change, as the things that you want, right, your ability to enjoy things change, you got to adjust for that. And I'm going to just add one last tidbit that I've been telling everyone is, some people take that to the extreme and they go, well, I'm going to save everything for those last few years. Mm-hmm. In which case, what I tell them is, well, you can spend the money now enjoying yourself, or you can spend it on a nursing home, because if you spend it now, right, and you do things that keep you active and mentally, sharp, that is the thing that's going to keep you out of the nursing home, right? And so you can either spend it on enjoying yourself, or you could spend it on the nursing home. Now we need to balance that, right? So it's not like blow all your money now while you have your health and then have nothing left over for when you don't have health, but blow enough that those healthy years last longer, so that when it comes time for those unhealthy years, right, it's really the end of your life, and it's those last year or two. It's not the last 15 years of just being an invalid because you didn't take care of your health and you were sick, but you have all this money, right? Like, what point is that? So
what an interesting picture. So explain to us how estate planning can address long-term care, can address declining health, or even caregiving needs, as you mentioned.
Yeah. So what I like to, a lot of people talk about estate planning, and the term that I find myself using more and more is financial continuity, right? Yeah, because I think that's the thing that comes before estate planning is, how do I ensure that when I'm no longer able to make financial decisions, right? When my judgment starts to go, and when people can start taking advantage of me, or when Fox News starts actually making sense, right? I'm being just a little facetious there, but when the conspiracy theories feel real, right? And you can't distinguish between, what's hyperbole and what's real. You need somebody who you can trust, who's going to be there, who's going to tell you, hey, no, you really shouldn't make that investment, right? That investment in, dandelions is not a good idea, or tulips, right? You need to have that trusted friend who can see what you're doing. And that's kind of the role that we play a lot of times as a financial advisor. The other thing is who's going to help make sure that your bills get paid, right? Who's going to know where all the pieces are moving, and who's going to make sure that person, whether it's your spouse, whether it's a trusted kid, right, or kids, or it's an attorney, right, or a trust service, right? Who's that person who's going to kind of step into your life and start running your financial household when you're no longer able to do that, because you need to have that plan first. Once you have that plan, then we can say, okay, if there's money left over by time I'm gone, what do I want to have happen with that money, right? How much is going to be there to take care of my surviving spouse? If I have an adult kid who can survive on their own, right, who still hasn't figured out how to make it, or maybe there's mental challenges that they won't be able to, right? How do we make sure to take care of them? And then how do we make sure to leave enough to, if we're lucky enough to leave a sizable legacy, how do we make sure that goes to our kids and not to the federal government, right? Because if we don't play our cards right, we'll have done everything right, amassed a huge fortune in retirement accounts, and then the government comes, takes it while we're alive in RMDs. And then when we're dead, they force our kids to take it out over 10 years. And now all of a sudden 50-60% of that is going to the federal government, state governments, and they become the biggest beneficiary of all of your hard work, which is the last thing that any of us want. So you gotta really plan for everything. And this is why when we do our retirement tax SWOT analysis, right, we don't just focus on, should you do a Roth conversion? We look at that whole picture. We look at where you are today. We look at what the future looks like. And then we kind of map it out and see what are the things that we really need to protect against, so that you have a comprehensive plan, because everything is a juggling act.
So do you have a tool that will help prospective customers and retirees at yieldsforyou.com?
We have lots and lots of tools. So on our website, we've got a 60-second retirement calculator. So, and it's call it a calculator. It's not a calculator. It's kind of like a automated version of what we do for people. So you go, Lloyd, fill in some basic information. It gets enough of all the right data points that it can give you a pretty good picture of where you are today and what that future looks like, and some of those big pitfalls that we see, the most common ones. What I will tell you is if you look at that and you go, that's not right, or you look at that and you go, well, these are disturbing things I need to take care of, reach out to us. There's a link on there to our calendar to book some time, because a computer can only see so much, right? There are so many nuances that computers, no matter how much AI we throw at it, it's just not going to pick up those subtleties of what's important to you. And, what's unique about your situation that doesn't apply to 99% of the people out there. Or maybe it does apply to 90% of the people out there, but it applies differently to you, right? Maybe you're willing to pay more taxes now, so you pay less in the future. Or maybe it makes sense for you to, pay the taxes down the road because of how you're invested, or because you're more worried about now versus later. And there's a legitimate reason for that, right? So nobody's a mathematical formula, right? Everyone's unique. And that's really where us as advisors get to shine, is how do we connect, you to the numbers, and how do we figure out how to make how do we help you experience your best life possible, with the greatest probability of success.
That makes a lot of sense, so that you don't have too much life at the end of the money. Leibel, we got to leave it right there, but we do want to let you know that estate planning is about creating flexibility so that your plan can adapt to how you're living, to your health changes, longevity, and all those unknowns that do happen in life. When well done, it protects your loved ones while giving you that satisfaction, that confidence to enjoy your retirement today. The right balance, as Leibel told us, brings us clarity, brings us control, and also, most importantly, peace of mind. For Leibel Sternbach, I'm Freddie Bell, and this is Leibel on Fire.
If you would like to see how the Yields for You team can help you get off the Wall Street roller coaster and save you money on taxes so you can live the life of your dreams, book an appointment online at yieldsforyou.com or call 410-914-4894.
Yields for You is a registered investment advisor in the state of New York and only transacts business in states where the firm is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement. Information presented on this program is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussion should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell or solicitation of any offer to buy or sell the investments mentioned. Annuity guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Content should not be viewed as legal or tax advice. Always consult an attorney or tax professional regarding your specific legal or tax situation.